watching Green in 5.
Welcome to Green in 5. Today, we're going to talk about making a cozy bed for our worm compost. Hey, Addie, got time for 5 questions?
Of course I do.
So, Addie, why do we need worm bedding anyway?
Well, I know they need a cozy bed like me, but could you kick things off?
Okay, I'll kick this question off. The whole reason for worm bedding is because not only is it their home that they live in and eat food in, but also as that bedding breaks down over time, it becomes food for them as well. Hey, just like you, they want to be cozy when they arrive, right?
Yeah.
So, absolutely. So we need to give them the right bed to live in. Addie, can't I just toss in a couple sheets of paper and they'll be good to go?
Nuh-uh. You needed to make a simple, easy bedding that only takes a few minutes so they can move around and be comfortable.
Once I'm done making bedding the first time, I'm all set, right?
No, you keep adding every now and then, and it's no big deal because it's easy to make.
What do we need to make the worm bedding?
Dad, take us through the materials.
Making the worm bedding is really easy to do and requires just a few basic ingredients to get going. For those of you who decided to take the plunge and buy your own worm compost system, it'll often come with starter ingredients to make your bedding. While there's nothing outright wrong with their bedding, I recommend you go with mine. It creates a much happier bed that they want to live in and start consuming your food. The biggest reason is many of these beds do not include some of the latter items like coffee grounds and food that I'm going to talk about. They just rely on big heavy white pieces of paper and cardboard to get going. Most of the worms are shell-shocked and say, what the hell am I sleeping in? Nobody likes a hard bed. Or, well, at least I don't, and the worms don't either, and they'll try to escape. Go with this. They'll be much happier. Start with pitcher of water, bowl to mix everything in, shredded cardboard as fine as possible, and we all have cardboard, we all have deliveries showing up every day. Shredded white paper. If you don't have a shredder at home, I'm sure you can find this at the office for free. Cup of coffee grounds, cup of chopped up food, banana peels and apples, pumice and or ground up eggshells. This is important for 2 reasons. A, it keeps the bedding nice and aerated light. Also, the worms actually ingest this. It's part of their digestive process. They use this to break down that food they're taking in to create the castings. Lastly, we want to supercharge the microbes in the compost. Alfalfa meal does that. There's a couple items that I didn't include. First, if you have access to compost from outside, grab a handful, throw it in. It helps also add good microbes to your compost. It's important for the process. Last, if you have coconut coir available, throw that in too. It acts just like the white paper and cardboard, helping add another medium that's light and helps retain water that your worms will love. Now let's start putting it together. Okay, now that we know all the materials to put this together, how do we actually make the worm bedding?
Dad, I thought you were going to do it.
Okay, fine, but pay close attention. All right, time to get our hands messy. And if you have to wear gloves, all right, you can, but we're not. First, grab a handful of your cardboard. Given the fact that we're trying to reload on existing bedding, we're not making a ton here. Grab about a handful. You're going to grab about 2 handfuls of white shredded paper. Add it in. Most important, you want to start adding water. However, when you're adding the water, think about this in terms of a sponge. You don't want your worm bedding ever to be dry, to be more moist than a wrung out sponge. The good news is, with tons of white paper here, you can always simply add more to be able to dry it out, just in case you added too much water. Before we start adding all the other items, we're going to turn this. Nice and moist. Next step, add the coffee grounds. Then, add the food. Celia, we're making food right now. Pause, 1 second. Okay, we're gonna take a quick time out so I can answer Celia's question and we'll come back and finish this up. Okay, we're back, and obviously Celia doesn't care whether or not we're filming Green in 5 or not. So let's get going. Adding about a half cup of eggshells. Lastly, put in some alfalfa meal. Again, about a 1/4 cup should work. This is not an exact science, so you just want to start adding it in, and you can keep mixing, and it'll all come together nicely. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Don't be wimpy. You don't need gloves for this. It's not like there's dirt or anything in it. So This is actually a little bit too wet, I can tell. I'm going to just add some more shredded white paper to this till it's more like a wrung out sponge, as I said before. Again, that is absolutely critical that you don't put in worm bedding that is too wet. The reason being is that worm bedding that's too wet can actually lead to bug issues. We want to avoid that. If you can actually pick up and wring this out and see water dropping from it, there's too much. I'm going to still add just a little bit more white paper. I added an extra couple handfuls of white paper as well as cardboard. It's now at the right moisture level and ready to add to our worm compost bin.
Thanks for watching Green and 5. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and remember to follow All Things Green. Bye!